Great.
Okay, let's begin. It's
Great.
10:01 and I want to be respectful for your time. You guys can see me and hear me okay? Yes,
Yeah.
thumbs up or just
Yes.
perfect. Thank you. Um, thank you for joining. Our goal today for this lightning lesson is one thing and one thing only, and that is to teach you how to brainstorm features and user stories with AI. In fact, my promise to you is that if you follow everything that I've shown you, if you follow the playbook, if you follow the prompts and the instructions, by the end of these 30 minutes, you guys should be able to brainstorm features and write user stories a lot faster and with less effort and hopefully with better quality. Now, to get there, our agenda for today is very simple, right? I'm going to share with you Anna's story. Anna is actually one of the coaches, a client that I coach. Names change, but the story is true. And I'll share with you how Anna used AI to actually brainstorm features. Then we'll go into why the way we write prompts is important and how it gives you high quality results. So we call it the anatomy of a well-structured prompt. We'll go through my step-by-step workflow of exactly how I do it so that you guys can actually follow it at the end of this. And then for people who want to stick around at the end of the 30 minutes, we can actually do an exercise in which we actually write features and brainstorm user stories together. Does that sound like a good plan? Good. As for me, Mustafa Kapadi, it's nice to meet all of you. Just I hate talking about myself, so I'm going to keep it short. I used to run product and innovation with Google, where we built accelerators and I ran accelerators, and we built products in which Googlers and clients would come together. And I've been in product for quite some time. I used to run product at IBM. I've been in product and software development for the last, I don't know, 20, 25 years. It's been a long time. I love this stuff. I can actually talk about this till the cows come home. Last year, I decided to quit Google and figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And so I did a lot of the time I did was coaching PMs, especially mid-career PMs, to try to figure out how they can accelerate their careers. And one of the things I heard from them again and again is that, Mustafa, I know we have to do all of these things, but we just don't have time. And so when AI came about, I said, you know what, let me see if I can figure out how I can actually give you guys time. And so what started off with a very simple experiment in helping some of my clients figure out how they can save time. We started off with automating 1 or 2 PM tasks. That grew to 10, 15, 20. And then one of them suggested, Mustafa, why don't you start a cohort or a class to do it? And that's what brings us here today. The long story short is that everything that you see here is a result of me actually helping an actual PM do their job, right? And you'll go through different tasks that we do. I'll share with you the different tasks we can automate and so on and so forth. In addition to doing this, I'm also an advisor. I advise a bunch of startup companies. I'm also a product coach and I do a lot of consulting. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn and on my newsletter. I put the links all in the chat. So if you guys want to go there, you can check it out there. So with that being said, let's talk about Anna, right? So like I said, Anna is a real client. I've just changed the names to protect the innocent. And I'm going to share with you how Anna actually used AI to brainstorm features and save time. So let's meet Anna first. So Anna is a senior PM. She has 5+ years of experience and she's working for a bank. She's very customer focused. She's detail oriented. She supports a whole bunch of products, but she also has this tendency to take on too much work. So the best way to describe Ivana is somebody who's passionate about product. She's ambitious, but she's also overworked. And today, Anna is feeling a bit overwhelmed, right? She's been asked to generate a whole bunch of features. Her CPO wants her to revamp the entire digital experience of card applications, about how users or how bank customers can apply for credit cards. And he's asked her to come up with a list of features that they want to present to the board and hopefully get some funding for it. Now, this usually takes Anna about 2 weeks, right? Being detail-oriented, making sure that she is able to provide good features that she can stand behind. She takes pride in her work. It takes about 2 weeks. But she only has a few days because the meeting's coming up. And on top of it, she wants to make a good impression to the CPO. This is the first time she's working with him. So she has a lot going on. Now, prior to AI or without using AI, this is what Anna's work would look like, right? She would open up a blank Google Doc or Word doc. She would look at a blank screen. She would probably do some Google. She might look at some old requirements, regurgitate some stuff, look at the competitors, and start brainstorming a bunch of features. Once she would have a bunch of ideas, then she would spend hours trying to make it fit right, make it the right format, make it easy to read, and you have a mix of half-baked ideas and so on and so forth. And while she's doing all of this, all her other work is piling. She's missing meetings or other of her products are asking for stuff. She's trying to figure out how to put out some fires. And by the end of this, her only hope is that she cannot disappoint the CPU, right? She has a lot going on. And usually this would take her anywhere between 10 to 15 hours of actual hands-on keyboard time, but elapsed time is usually about 2 weeks. Now, with AI, it changes the equation. So I'm just going to walk you through Anna's workflow, and then we're actually going to do a breakdown of the step-by-step process. So Anna's lucky enough that she actually has a playbook of all the tasks that she's automated. So she goes to her playbook. She goes down to brainstorm new product features. In here, what she does is she puts down the problem that she's trying to solve. Who are the users? What is it that they're trying to build, which is design a streamlined digital experience for applying for home mortgage. Sorry, it should be credit card. They should get a conditional offer and reduce the application time from 20 days to 3 days, 20 days to 3 days, right? And so she just takes the entire prompt. She copies it, she goes to ChatGPT, she opens a new window, and here you go. And what it does is it gives her a list of 20 prompts. Now, when the first time I did this with Anna, I love I knew we were onto something because the way her reaction was fantastic. And if you guys actually stick around and actually do the exercise at the end of 30 minutes, I'm hoping you guys can get the same reaction. First of all, she was surprised at how neat and easy it was to read some of these things. So you can see that it actually comes in exactly great format, the format that she wanted it to be in the feature benefit format. By the way, this is the same format we used at Google. It was easy to read. And now formatting and easy to read might seem trivial, but it's a huge, and you guys know this because it's a huge benefit because we don't write features for the heck of writing features for our consumption. We write features because it's a way to communicate what we want with our engineers or with our leaders. And so making things easier just slows down on the back and forth. So I never underestimate how important it is to write things clearly, especially when you're communicating with large groups of people from diverse backgrounds and different points of view. So that was the first reaction. Her second reaction was that she was amazed at how relevant the answers were. So when she scanned through these 20 responses, she was like, you know what, Mustafa, this is great. I actually thought of some of these things. And that gave her confidence that at least the stuff that is being proposed by ChatGPT is relevant. And third is that she said, oh, you know what, there are a few things that I have never thought about. And that's gold, right? If you actually put down your problem statement of what you're trying to solve, who your customer is, what's the outcome, and if it gives you 2 or 3 ideas that you have never thought about, and she's like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And so that allowed her to then take a look at this list of 20. And by the way, she could have sparred and gotten another 20. She then picked 2 or 3 and was off to the races. So we're going to walk, I know I'm going through this fast, but we're going to walk through each and every one of these steps and we're going to break it down for you guys. So this is what Anna is, by the way, that's the prompt right there. I always do long prompts and then we'll go into why. But with AI, Anna's workflow completely changes, right? She can create 20, 30, 40 prompts at a click of a button that's easy to read, always in the format that she wants or the format that's approved by her organization. She doesn't have to pick all 20 or 30 or 40. She just picks a few things that matter to her. She might edit it, and it's a mix of practical ideas, creative ideas, innovative ideas, whatever she thinks that fits in her, fits the bill, so to speak, for her organization. The best part is it doesn't slow her down, right? After doing this, it continues to do her work, and now she knows that she's ready, that some of the ideas are out there that's ready to impress the CPU. And if you look at the before and after, right, what used to take 10, 15 hours a week now takes her 2 hours, 10 minutes to generate the options, the rest of the time to curate the options and figure out what makes sense for her. And so if you look at her experience overall, she saved about 8 hours of work. A velocity that used to take her 2 weeks is now 2 hours. She now has a creative partner that she can spar with that comes up with great ideas that she can present that's easy to read. And most importantly, her stakeholders are happy. Yes, she's going to give it to the CPO first, but eventually it's going to go to the engineers. And if you give it to them in a certain way, in a certain format, it just makes the back and forth easier. So with that being said, let's actually go into the prompt itself, right? Because I think that's where the magic is. Now, when I work with my students and my clients, most of them, the way they would approach this is they would actually they would ask a very simple question. They would say, "Can you please give me a list of innovative features for this product that I'm building?" And that's how most prompts start. The problem with asking the question that way, in my opinion, is threefold. Number one, it rarely gives you high quality responses. If you look at what the responses Anna had, all of them were very relevant. Some of them were innovative that she didn't think about. All of them were in the right format that she wanted. But if you ask a simple question, it rarely gives you the response that you want. And so what that ends up happening is that ends up creating a really bad experience. So now what you do is you say, no, that's not what I want. And you start sparring with ChatGPT or your favorite AI, and you start asking it or start giving it more context or more questions. And so the AI reacts to it, and sometimes it will give you what you want. Sometimes it goes down the rabbit hole, and you're like, oh, it just doesn't get it. And you end up giving up, right? And the third reason I don't like it, or the simple answer doesn't work, is that it's not a replicable process. Like if you have to go through this sparring back and forth to get the GPT to do exactly what you want to do every time, you're not going to ask 10, 20 questions to get it. And you have no idea if you ask the same 10, 20 questions next time, it's going to give you the same response again and again. So the way to get around that, the way to what I call unlock AI and get great results is what I call the 5 keys, right? What's really missing from that simple question is context. Well, there's a few things missing, but the main thing that gives us low quality results or results that don't make sense to us is the fact is that it's not enough context. When you ask a simple question, the AI starts filling in the blanks. So for example, when you ask the question, give me 20 features for this product, the AI is making assumptions about who the user is, what part of the product you want to do, the product description, what is the outcome, and so on and so forth. So it's missing all those contexts. And so the way to get it to do what you want it to do, the way to get AI to behave and to give you high quality results again and again and again is what I call the 5 keys. And that is the first and foremost is you assign it a role. You give it a persona, right? You tell the AI who to be. You give it experience. This is the power of AI is that you can ask it to be anything you want it to be. The second part is you have to give the right amount of input. And this is hard because if you give too much input, it confuses the AI. If you give too little, there's not enough context. And so giving the right amount of input is a matter of just getting used to working with large language models. But eventually, most of you will get hang of it, so to speak. Then you need to give it specific instructions about what do you want the AI to do with it, right? Here's where you can put all the best practices that you want, that you built in. All the things that we learned as PMs, you can actually encode it in the instructions. Then you tell this format that you want the output in. Every organization has its own format of writing features, writing epics, writing user stories, you name it. You can actually tell the AI exactly what format you want it to be in. And then you give it examples. An example is just another way to reinforce what you're saying in 1 through 4, right? So let's go a little bit deeper, right? So this is the prompt that Anna used. So first things first is we assign it a role. And you notice it, I say that you're the most experienced person when it comes to building great products. And you're an expert in ideating product features. So what I've done is I've given the AI a persona and I've given them an expertise, so to speak. So I've given a persona of a product manager and the expertise of building or generating product ideas. Then I give it the right input. And the input, if you think about it, most of us as PMs, this is how we start, right? We figure out what's the problem we want to solve, who's the user, what are we trying to build, what's the outcome, and how's the user going to benefit, right? And so you always go back to what I call first principles for input. You can always use AI to actually help you figure out what the input is too. But if you just go back to some of the things that we've learned, that becomes the key input. Next, you actually give it specific instructions. So here, what is it that you want to do with that input? So generate a list of 10 unique functional ideas based on the input. Do not include non-functional reliability and usability because that's what Anna wanted at that time. Ideas must be innovative. And because she worked in a bank, ideas must adhere to heavily regulated Federal Home Mortgage Electronic Disclosure Act. That was something that was important. So in here, you can actually put in all the best practice that you want so that the AI can accommodate your request. And the last but not the least is the format in which you wanted the feature benefit format. So as you tell them exactly how you want the AI to respond. And then you give it an example of what a good example looks like. So it knows what to do. And what you're really doing by doing this is you're doing very high level training of the model, so to speak. Now, the benefit of writing or using the 5 keys is multiple things. Number one is it will give you high quality responses, right? So even if you attend the exercise after this, or if you actually just take this after the call and run it with your own problems and users and so on and so forth, you'll take a look and you'll see how the level of quality of responses that you got. And there's a way to evaluate the responses, and we can go into that too. Second is that this is actually very reusable. You can take this same prompt, you can change the input based on what is the new problem you're trying to solve, which is, by the way, every in red. That's the reason why it's in red. And it will give, and it makes it a very reusable prompt. So you can use it again and again and again. And the third part is that this is LLM agnostic. So you can use this on ChatGPT. You can use this on Claude. You can use this on Gemini. And because you write it in this way, you are saving yourself a massive amount of time, and you're getting great responses each and every time. And by the way, this 5-key format just doesn't work for the brainstorming features. In fact, we have an entire playbook that actually does it. So if you can do a lot if you use the 5 keys. So for example, just to give you an idea, let me go to table of contents here. You can actually use the 5 keys to do all of these things that we do as PMs all the time. So brainstorming product and features we just talked about. We can write epics. We can actually do prioritization. We can create product summaries. You can create personas. You can do jobs to be done. You can create user journeys. You can do user research. You can synthesize user feedback. I just did that lightning lesson last month. You can brainstorm UI, UX. You can do UI, UX. You can brainstorm ideas for content structure in a website. You can write user stories. We'll actually go into that later today. You can write acceptance criteria, non-functional requirements. You can actually generate PRD summaries. You can create test data, product roadmap, create release notes. As a PM, I hated writing release notes This was one of the first tasks that I automated. Um, you can do market research. In fact, I just published an article about how you can use actually Perplexity to do market research, and it follows the same five keys. And you can do a lot of leadership activities. You can generate OKRs. You can create a vision. You can actually review and analyze your PRD. So if you actually have a standard way that your organization says that we look at PRDs and we look at these 5 or 7 dimensions, you can actually upload a PRD into ChatGPT, have it analyze those 5 dimensions and take a look at it. So the 5 keys really helps you unlock a lot of value out of AI, and it will always give you high quality results. So with that being said, let me kind of walk through the step by step so that we can do this. And I know we'll have some questions as well. So here's, if you if you don't hear anything else, if you don't if nothing else, just go back and do these 5 things, right? So for features, I put a link in chat that actually has my top 5 features. It's the mini playbook that I just shared with you that has all these long prompts. Go find the brainstorm new features prompt in the input section, which is in red. Enter the details about your customer, your desired outcome, and then run it in ChatGPT. It will give you 20 ideas. You, of course, you'll review it. You can select a few, you can edit a few, and if needed, change it around. You can spar with it if you want more ideas, and that will give you features to run. The second part, if you actually want to build user stories, and we didn't go through that, is you can do the same with the user story. So let's go back to Anna's example. So Anna, let's just say that we want to build user stories for real-time application status. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to my playbook. Let's see what user stories are. And I'm just going to put this down. I'm going to paste without formatting. So all I've done is change the input. The product description remains the same. As you can see, it has the input, the instructions, the format, and it has a good example. You copy it, you go down to ChatGPT. Now you start this in a new window. And the reason to do a new window is because you don't want the original 20 ideas corrupting the information or giving you responses for user stories. You put it in, and as you can tell, it focuses exactly what you want to do. As a user, I want to do so and so. So you go, as a first-time home buyer, I want a summary of this at the end of each day. And again, you of course don't choose all 10, but you choose the ones that matter to you, and you're off to the races. Let me pause here for a minute. I know we have about 6 or 7 minutes. Any questions so far? I see some in the chat. Can we get a recording after? Yes. Philip, you will get a recording after this. I'll send something out within like 24 hours or 48 hours. Anna, do you always have to use the format in all of these 5 keys when using AI? In most cases, yes. There are cases in which I actually don't recommend 5 keys, and it's a case-by-case or a task-by-task specific. But in order for you to get what I call high-quality results each and every time, I highly recommend using some form of the 5 keys. And by the way, the order of the keys matter as well. So, because remember, the way the AI really doesn't know what it's reading. It's just reading ones and zeros. So how you put it and the order you put it is very important, because that is how the AI is reacting. At the end of the day, the large language model is just a pattern recognition machine. And so in order for it to give you the patterns that matter to you, to give you high quality responses, give it things that are relevant, that you can then take action, things that will actually save you time. Using the 5 keys may seem like a lot to write the prompt once, but I'm a big believer in write prompt once and then keep reusing it. That's why I have the black and the red. And by the way, the other thing I didn't mention is that when there's a section in my cohort then in which we talk about agents. When we start building agents, having a static and dynamic part of your prompt becomes very important. Because agents is, you guys probably have heard already, agents is where AI is going. It's actually where we think that the AI is going to have the biggest impact. And if that's the case, then understanding how to deal with dynamic and static parts of the prompt will make your life a lot easier. It'll just put you ahead of the curve. The link should be on top of the chat, Christina. So it should be right here. I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but if you go top of the chat at 10 a.m., you'll see all the links. Good. Dhruv, you had a question.
Yes.
You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. For the user stories, are they part of, like, the way you generated these user stories, they're part of the link? Like, I can see how you generated those user stories in the doc.
Yes. So the link is, so what you'll get is a mini playbook. And the mini playbook has what I call my top 5 prompts. So let's go to table of contents. So here, you have the brainstorm features in which we just taught, which we did that. I've actually given you a few more. The user stories are here as well. And then if you want to have synthesized user feedback, you can have create B2B, B2C personas, generate value propositions. You can get actually all of those things if you click on that link.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, but I can't seem to see the link in the chat at all.
You know what? Let me put it in again. Sorry. So let's do that.
Thank you. I think it doesn't show up for those who may have joined after you shared it.
Oh, is that okay? Thank you. I guess you learn something new about Zoom every day. With that being said, so let's just go into so if you like what you saw, and if you are, let me step back. So I'm of the opinion that AI is going to change, for better or for worse. It's going to change the way we PMs work. How we work today and how we're going to work with AI is going to be completely different. And which is why I actually started this entire practice. There's a lot of PMs already. It's a very small percentage who are already using AI to do amazing things. They're using AI to automate the task, and I just showed you a list of about 60 or 70 that you can do. They're using it to save time. At a minimum, they're saving at least 10 hours per week, right? They're using it to elevate or get better quality, right? If you can get the AI to write things the way you want it and give you high quality results, that just makes your life easier. So not only are they automating the tasks, which saves them time, they're improving quality, they're using less effort. They're using that then to stand out and differentiate. And some of them, I just put a case study out there, they've actually used it to actually accelerate their career growth. If that sounds of something of interest to you, please consider the bootcamp. It starts on November 5th, right? And it'll give you all the tools you need in order to master AI so you can be productive, you can save time, you can automate your tasks. With that being said, for all the assets, and I'll put this in the link again, you can get the recording, you can get the prompt book, you can get my newsletter and free guides, and you can connect me with LinkedIn on this link. That link will actually give you everything that you need. Let me just give the link to you guys. And there you go again. And with that being said, we are at 10:30. For people who want to stick around, we can actually go through an exercise itself. But let me see if there's any other questions first.
Yeah, just one thing, Mustafa. So in your
Yes.
program, like, would you be basically going through the playbook, or would you have material on top of what's already there in the playbook?
Yes, thank you. So great question. In my program, there's actually 4 or 5 things that we talk about, right? Number one is, I call it foundational, as in how you actually use AI. Just we talk about the playbook, but to me, the playbook is not enough. Because what happens when you want to automate, I think in the playbook we do, in the boot camp, we go through 30 or 35 tasks. But what happens when you want to automate the 35th task or the 36th task or the 37th task? So what we end up doing is, number one, of course, we show you how to use the playbook so you can start automating the key tasks right away. Then we actually share with you what I would call is how do you write well-structured prompts so you can then automate any future PM tasks that you want, which I believe is also really where the value is. Because the playbook is great, but understanding how to automate any other future prompts or any other future PM task is really what it's going to make you self-sufficient. The third part about it is that it's actually going to teach you how to write or how to build agents, right? So how do you do GPTs? How do you start using some of the prompts that we use to actually create copilots? The fourth part about the bootcamp is really about using what LLMs to use for what task. Right now, listen, each LLM is a little bit different, right? And so knowing which LLM to use for which task is just as important as the prompt itself. So there are certain tasks that I actually don't use ChatGPT for. And there are certain tasks that I actually only use Claude for, and vice versa. And understanding how LLMs work and how to use which task is just as important as how to write the prompt. And then last but not the least, and I think probably the most important part, is the mindset piece. And we talk, in fact, that's how we start off the bootcamp. We spend the first 30 minutes talking about how LLMs work, how to think about LLMs, what are the limitations of LLMs, what are the benefits, and how to use it correctly, so to speak. Because understanding the mindset, if you can get that, then that becomes your foundation, and then you can build on top of it. And by the way, if you guys want to learn more about all the different modules and so on and so forth, you can actually go to the link to the bootcamp. I'll put that link out too. And it'll show you all the modules and all the things we do. I think there's about 15 or 16 modules. The playbook is just one of them. Does that help?
And is the bootcamp just one day, or is it several days, or how is that?
So the bootcamp is spread over 3 weeks, and it's an hour and a half, 1 day a week. Right, so I think it starts at 10 a.m. on the 5th and goes to 11:30, and then every Tuesday you do it for 3 weeks. Right, and then there's homework, and there's a capstone project, and there's homework that actually will. The goal is that once you learn things from boot camp, I want you to be able to automate your own tasks. So you pick a task that you actually do, and then we'll automate it together. And so there's office hours for that as well. Good questions. Anything else, guys?
Just one thing. So do you always recommend to have different windows for different specific, I guess, content that you're trying to make the AI learn about? Like, for example, business analytics in a separate window versus processes in a different one?
Yes. Well, again, I say yes, but it really depends on the task. So when I try to do a new task, I usually try to do a new window unless I'm sparring with the AI to do it. So for example, you notice that when I did user stories, I used a new window because to me, a user story is a new task. But say if I wanted to create 10 more user stories, then I would use the same window and say, can you please give me 10 more? But I try not to do features, brainstorming, and user stories in the same window, simply because the way the LLM works is that it reads your entire history from top to bottom. And so the LLM, unfortunately, does not know what you're focusing on, what's important and what's not important, right? And so it's very easy for the data that you had previously to corrupt the quality of responses that you have that you want, right? You know when people say that the LLM just doesn't get it, or you go down these rabbit holes in which it just doesn't understand what you're trying to say? The reason for that is because it has misunderstood or has been confused by the long history that you have of chat. And so it's reacting to that, not just to the last question that you asked. And so the way to get the most out of LLMs is by using a different window for a different task, right? There's a whole bunch of tricks and tips that I've learned over the last year and a half of trying to figure out how to get the most out of the LLMs, right? Like I said, when I started this, it was really there to help somebody like Anna do her work. But as we added more and more tasks, and as we got to figure out how to use the LLMs better and better, there's a bunch of things that you just, the way I think about LLMs is like the way we know how to use Microsoft Word or how you use actually Gmail, right? We've become used to understanding how to use the software. We just learn these tips and tricks over time. The same thing has to happen with large language models. And the more you get to know that, the more effective or more value you can get out of these things, right? So it's just getting familiar with large language models and how they work. Good question. Any other questions, guys? I know we're over time. All right, let's see how many people. All right, so we actually do have a good crowd. Do you guys want to do the exercise? Yes? Okay, so let's do this. If you can do this, let's go to the link that actually had the top 5 prompts. I want you to do brainstorm features link. And go in there and edit the input and go into the input and the problem, user, and benefit. And by the way, you will have to probably make a copy of it because it's shared. Sorry, you can't edit it. If you go here, what you can do is you can go File, make a copy, and create a copy of your document, and that will allow you to edit it. Once you do that, just play around with it. Take a few minutes, and I don't want you to take too much time. Just take a few minutes and edit the ones in the red, right? So it's about 10:38. I'm not going to give you a lot of time. I'm going to give you about 4 minutes. So make a copy and then edit the red. And once you're done with editing the red, run it in ChatGPT. Just in a new window. It's about 10:40, so we have 2 minutes. Any questions so far? Ari, I will send, here you go. And just see, copy. And here's the other set of, oh, this is not it. There's 2 links, Ari. I'm going to give you both. Give me a minute. So the first link will give you to the playbook. The second link will actually give you all the other resources. All right, we have about a minute left. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and then let's actually take a look at the results. Okay, 1042. Let's take a look at the responses together. And by the way, the way you evaluate the response also is an art. So anybody would like to volunteer? That's okay, don't be shy, otherwise I'm gonna start picking people. Anna, how about you, if you don't mind?
Okay, so what I didn't quite understand the request. So it was, I took the prompt, I saved it, and then I guess I was.
Did you run it in ChatGPT yet?
Was it everything, like including the format?
Yes,
and
everything, the entire prompt.
Yes.
Did you run the whole thing? Yes?
Mhm.
Perfect. Just your impressions on what you thought so far on the results.
I can share it if you want, if this what it said.
Well, sharing is okay. I'm just curious to see. Why don't we just answer these questions, right?
Mhm.
So tell me, were they in the right format and were they easy to read?
Yes.
Perfect. That I know sounds trivial, but it makes a huge difference when you're communicating with a bunch of folks. Now, let's talk about relevancy. When you looked at the 10 ideas that it gave you, how many of them were relevant?
A lot of them.
So out of 10, would you say about 8?
The content preloading, driven balancing. Yeah, these are things that we discuss usually.
Yes. Were there anything that just did not make any sense?
I can't really determine that because it might be possible. It's just I might not know about that particular.
Okay, fair enough. Were there any ideas in there that you were just like, oh, I didn't even think about that one, or that's interesting?
Yes. Or there was also obvious ones, but yes.
Yes. So what you've done, Anna, by the way, is in less than 10 minutes, you have come up with a credible list of ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge time saver right there.
Yeah, and the problem was basically to improve website response times for users.
Now, of those 10, how many do you think you would like to move forward with, or just do it deeper, go deeper on?
Probably like 3 or 4 of them for sure.
Perfect. By the way, you have just replicated the other Anna's journey.
I know, I thought I was sweating when you were saying that, and I was like, oh, is he talking to me?
Thank you for that. And I appreciate you putting yourself out there. If you guys use the long prompts and the well-structured prompts the way that is there in the playbook, you're going to get similar experiences. You're going to get things that are easy to read and a good format. They're going to be highly relevant responses that are high quality that you can actually move forward to. And the idea is that, you know what, in both Anna's experience, that some of them were things that they had already thought about, and some of the things that they had not thought about. That's a good thing. That gives you the warm and fuzzy that at least the AI is actually in the right direction. And by the way, the response about 8 being relevant out of 10 is very common. You usually don't want 100% relevancy. And the reason you don't want 100% relevancy is because if everything's relevant, then you lose out the ability to be creative. So if there are responses out there that say, oh, that just does not make sense, that's actually a good thing. Because when it doesn't make sense, that means you're also getting the opposite of things that don't make sense, which is the creative ideas, so to speak. So if you want the AI to be creative, you have to be okay with the AI giving you some responses that don't make sense, because they're two sides of the same coin, right? There's a lot of people who go out there, and especially in my class, they come in and say, Mustafa, why can't I just get 100% relevant results? Wouldn't that be easier? Because then you sacrifice creativity, and so you don't want to do that. Anyone else wants to share their experience so far? Now, the good news is that what we just did here with features, you guys can do that with everything else in the playbook, so to speak. You can do it on the, let's get to the, you can do it for the synthesized user research. You can build a persona out of it. In fact, building a persona is the next lightning lesson that I'm going to give. So if you guys are interested, you can sign up for that one. You can write user stories and you can write value proposition, right? And then, of course, if you want to expand your, if you want to expand your level of knowledge about large language models, you can always come and take a look at my bootcamp. I have the link somewhere here. So I think there was a question about what is it that's covered, so to speak. By the way, these are all the tasks that we will automate together. And you can go into this and you can take a look at it. Like I said, we'll cover the foundational skills about how to automate the 30 tasks that we just did, how to create these well-structured prompts beyond the 30 tasks. So this really learning how to fish is important. How to get high-quality responses each and every time, how to build agents, how to pick the right LLMs, how to evaluate and improve quality. The mindset piece is very important. How do you actually, we didn't cover this, but how do you take something and make it more specific to your industry, to your product, to the type of things that you're trying to build? How do you troubleshoot when AI goes wrong? How to use it responsibly? And then, of course, you get the entire library and so on and so forth. So if that is something of interest to you, please sign up. The next cohort is November 5th. This is the last one for this year. I think the next one is probably going to be sometime in, I think, either end of first quarter or second quarter. Any questions so far? Good. Well, then with that, I'm happy to end our chat. Yes? Thank you once again, guys, for coming. And if you have any questions, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minada. I'm so glad. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but thank you. Thank you, Janelle. Thank you, Kim. Masha, thank you as well. And so my same here. Okay, with that being said, thank you guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now. Harsha, by the way, thanks for coming again. I appreciate it.